I'm looking at new music videos and discuss them from my perspective as a camera person and as someone who spends way too much time on YouTube. I know the music video madness and skyrocketing budgets from the 90s and 2000s are well over, but that doesn't mean music videos don't play an important role in today's visual culture. I think quite the opposite. Welcome to the 6th edition of this music video roundup. This week I'm gonna focus on a video I had really mixed feelings about. There's a lot to talk about here, and then as always rounding this week's music video roundup off with a couple videos that stayed in my head for one reason or another. Let's get into it. I think this is the first more controversial video I'm discussing, so I want to dedicate some time to unpack and decipher the visual language, while also taking into account what the artists have to say. So a couple days ago, doing my usual rounds on YouTube, I saw this video, specifically this clip. How sick is that? Took me a couple seconds to realize what's going on, but this is really fresh. Really cool idea and executed so well. I love seeing stop motion behind the scenes also. There's something really magical about it, especially seeing how it's made in this time-lapse weirdly doesn't destroy the fictionality of it at all. It kind of even makes it more magical. Anyway, let's jump into why I have my issues with this video. Noga Erez, together with her creative and life partner Rousso, published a video for PC People. Contrary to what originally I thought to be a song about fans of PC computers that really dislike Apple, it is actually about political correctness. Or better said, a critique of politically correct people. The term political correctness, which seems to have been replaced by woke, and frankly both terms now only seem to be used in a sore right-wing context to whine about how nothing is how it's used to be. But let's give Noga Erez and Rousso the benefit of the doubt and start fresh. The video is separated into 5 different ideas, each of them tackling the issues with political correctness in some way. Firstly, we see a group of medieval-looking people staring into a fire, presumably someone being burned alive. I guess showcasing how everyone, back then and now, is getting pleasure out of seeing people being publicly punished. Linked to the trope of being burned is often the usage of the word witch hunt. Nowadays turned into kind of a teary right-wing battle cry as soon as anyone is under scrutiny and they suspect a leftist woke mob financed by the state behind it. The second trope is Rousso's performance part. He's trotting around and dancing in a massive industrial building. Other than that, Rousso isn't exactly explaining why, which led me to get a bit more suspicious of their political angle, as at this point their critique is merely comprised of buzzwords. Next, we see Noga Erez as a priest in a church with her followers. Here she seems to critique virtue signaling, which is fair enough, but the rest of the verse also isn't giving any more clues how exactly they understand political correctness and what they think is wrong with it. It remains super vague. The preacher's setting is apparently a reference to There Will Be Blood.
Wow. That this is a tribute to the incredible film There Will Be Blood. Oh.
Other than a stylistic reference, I don't see a thematic one at all. Her verse is ending with an extremely absurd list of names she seems to associate with being cancelled by political correctness. Not aware around a woke narrative around Calvin Klein. Turning Red is a 2022 Disney animated coming-of-age film, target audience teenage girls. Film centers around the teenage life of a Chinese-Canadian girl and has received incredibly banal and frankly dumb criticism from right-wing crybabies. Specifically that the film implicitly mentions periods, which is a thing teenagers experience, and that apparently the fact that the story centers around her Chinese-Canadian heritage limits the relatability for the audience. Turning Red being used in this song is extremely confusing, as the only angle I can find here is that Noga Erez thinks of this film as woke propaganda, which is obviously nuts. Lastly, she mentions Louis C.K., who got dropped by HBO and some others for a brief second for allegations of sexual misconduct. I'm not saying that the backlash after he was accused of sexual misconduct didn't have severe consequences for him, but he has been welcomed back very quickly with stand-up acts and is continuing to produce projects. Lastly, if Bill Maher jumps in to defend you, there's probably something sketchy about you, not gonna lie. None of these examples make any sense to me. On the contrary, they make me think that Noga Erez and Rousso have an incredibly bad take on this. Another film reference, this time it's The Square. Again, I can't even follow the analogy, even after they've explained it.
It's a movie that touches on subjects like PC, cancel culture. One of the interesting moments of the movie is when we see a human gorilla enters a dinner party filled with privileged, rich, high society people and destroys everything.
Now they seem to conflate the rich ruling class with woke people that are being disrupted by the gorilla man. I really don't get it. And then, finally, the bunk bed scene, where it's really coming together for me in Russo's second verse.
You can't say that. You're lesbian. You said what? You're super Jew. I like your dress. What the fuck? What you gonna say when you can't say anything you wanna say? Okay.
I mean, these are the examples you're thinking of when you want to bring the point across that you can't say anything anymore. I don't often find myself in a situation where I think visually this is absolutely amazing, but it's embedded in a dulled out, sore right-wing context. Such a lame take, but great video elements to it. I think it's great that they took the time to do an explainer video on Instagram to contextualize the music video choices, because obviously I haven't been the only one who's been a little bit confused by it, but their argument remains extremely one-dimensional and petty at the end of the day. I just think that most people completely disarm themselves when they actually tell you what it is that they can't say anymore. Option 1, it's incredibly offensive and hurtful. Option 2, it's completely trivial. At least the video wasn't option 1, I guess. As I'm in a rambling mood now, let's keep that energy going. We've all been there, accidentally standing in the middle of the shot, but usually that stuff is being cut out. Definitely looks like a very hectic production. I am sure the crew didn't have much time with Gunna. With big names like his and run and gun style shooting, they probably only had a couple hours. Probably also explains why we see a ratchet strap flying in the wind here. But well, at least they used one. Safety first, my guys. Maeta published a whole bunch of music videos and visualizers recently. A couple days ago I stumbled over this categorization. Pseudo video? And it's just a still, it's just her album cover. Sounds like they're trying to reinvent a still image? Bizarre. Enough rambling, let's get excited about some stuff again. Once again, it's OG Keemo. Last week I talked about him and Ramsey's video for Rambok, and specifically how surprised I was to find out that so few people are behind the camera here, and how sometimes it is exactly this more private environment that enables great art. Just a couple days after that, OG Keemo published a video titled Süd Südfest 2024, also shot by Niklas Lenhardt and Finn Eithoff. The clip sits somewhere between festival aftermovie, tour vlog and surveillance footage from German intelligence services.
Das erste Mal, als ich Fieber gehört habe,
OG Keemo becomes the all-seeing, all-hearing eye, just like the Thought Police and Big Brother in Orwell's classic 1984. Very overused reference, I'm sorry. We hear his fans confessing and testifying, stating where they've listened to Fieber, his album, for the first time.
War beim Bumsen.
War ich im Auto.
War nachts allein saß ich im Auto, damit ich einen CD-Spieler hatte. Beeindruckend.
I can't leave the sound design unmentioned. I'm 99% sure these are the sounds from the Modern Warfare 2 menu. It fits so well together. The surveillance aspect is heightened by the use of thermal camera footage of the crowd at his concert. I'm so stoked to see what they have coming for us this and next year when OG Keemo goes on tour again. This is for sure the sickest tour announcement video I've seen. That's it for this week. As always, check out the music videos and check out the crews behind them. And stay tuned for the next music video roundup.